No, we started Iron Kingdom back in 2011,
Right.
and it was so me and the bass player Leighton. We're still original members, but my sister was on drums at the time, and we had another buddy playing guitar at that time. And it was kind of just like we wanted to just bring back a time that, growing up, we could hear bands like Deep Purple and Van Halen and stuff, but nobody was doing that.
Right.
So our thought at the time was, if nobody else is doing it, let's do it and
Right.
let people have that show again, kind of thing.
Wow. Now, I was reading about a dispute with the name. Can you tell me anything about that? I guess it said the band was called Rain 1980.
No,
Oh,
no. Prior to Iron Kingdom, we were called Twisted.
okay.
And this was just a name that we didn't care. It didn't mean anything. Didn't care
Right.
about. And that was like, we were kids.
Yeah.
We were like 18 when we changed the name over to Iron Kingdom. So, you can argue whether that's when the band started anyway.
Right. Right. Were you doing covers or you doing originals back then?
Once we became Iron Kingdom, it was all originals, um, but before that, we would do like a bunch of AC/DC stuff and, some Scorpions and things like that. So,
Right. Wow. Tell me about the first release that you guys put out for the public. Tell me a little bit about that album.
sure, yeah. We put out the first record was Curse of the Voodoo Queen, and essentially it was songs that we had written over the years when before we became Iron Kingdom.
Right.
And once we hit the studio, we changed the name and we started recording, kind of thing. So these were all the tracks that were kind of the other band, if that makes sense. It's the
Right.
same people, same everything, but it was just a new mentality.
Right.
So we wanted to kind of just get that down on tape and go from there. So yeah, the first record's a lot more rock and roll, you could say. Had a lot of like just kind of, yeah, more simple kind of melodies and simpler kind of concepts. And then we kind of grew from there.
Right. Right. Tell me about your latest release and touring and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So the newest album, The Blood of Creation, is coming out November 4th. And basically it's 8 tracks, but it's like way more like, I would say we thought this record out a lot more than any other one
Right.
because we wrote it over the span of like 2.5 years, which we've never done before.
Right.
So we had lots of time. We got to kind of like play around with each little intricacy, right? So
Right.
we made it exactly how we wanted. We recorded it ourselves in our own studio, and um, it's kind of interesting because it's not really a concept album, but there's 3 songs that tie into this. The Blood of Creation is actually about the ancient Sumerian creation myth or
Right.
story, of like Tiamat and Marduk and all of them.
Right.
And so we kind of tie this in throughout the album with a few different songs. Um, and then the other tracks are just kind of like songs that kind of felt right with that feeling. So they're kind of darker in emotion and lyrics.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's very progressive, very fast, lots of fast tracks,
Right.
lots of fun.
Cool. 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 Tell me how all you guys got together.
Yeah, well, so Leighton and I, the bass player, we met actually back in high school. And so we've been jamming since the early days.
Right.
And and then Megan would be the newest member after that, which she joined for On the Hunt album on guitar.
Uh,
And funny enough, we were actually dating at the time, and she was looking for a band,
right.
and we were kind of like, well, we need a guitar player because ours left. We toured a lot, and
Right.
so he just was kind of tired of it, and he was like, okay, I'm gonna move on. But it was amicable. We were left on good terms or whatever.
Right.
But so she was looking for a band, and we were a little hesitant, and we are like, well, a relationship in the band. I don't know, do we want to do that kind of thing?
Right.
So we waited a little bit, and then we're like, let's just jam and see what happens. And it went well. So we went with it, and I think it was a good decision. And then Max was actually pretty recent. So Max is our drummer,
Right.
and so we toured in 2020. We were touring in Europe right
Right.
in March, right before the shutdown.
Uh-huh.
Uh, our last show was actually March 15th.
Right.
And Germany closed its borders, I think, on the 16th or 17th, something like that.
Wow.
So we were like right at the tail end, and we had a fill-in drummer at the time because our guy who did On the Hunt, he wasn't able to make that tour. And when we got home, he tells us that he's quitting.
Right.
So
Wow.
we were kind of bummed out,
Uh-huh.
but it is what it is, right? And COVID had hit too, so we couldn't play shows anyway. So we were like, okay, well, couldn't be a better time to look for someone, right? So we put out some ads. We started looking, and Max was actually living in Japan at the time, teaching English, I believe it was.
Right.
And when COVID happened there, he's like, okay, I'm out of here. I'm going home. So he gets home, and then he's like, well, what am I going to do now? And then he saw our ad, and he used to play drums in a band called Ophelia Falling from Vancouver. And so they were telling us too. They're like, "Hey, Max is back in town. You gotta play with this guy. He's really good." So we auditioned him, and like right away we were just like, "This is the guy for sure." It's like Neil Peart mixed with everything else that we could ask for, you know.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, it's great. Yeah, we're all the same age pretty much. So yeah.
is most of the material that you do is done in-house, yeah, self-produced and self-released, or do you got a label, or what's up?
Yeah, so all the albums we put out have been self-released, but we do licensing deals sometimes
Uh-huh.
with labels. So, for example, all of our vinyl records have been released from a German record label called Underground Power.
Uh-huh.
Uh, And then we did some cassettes out of a record label in Minneapolis, I believe it was,
Right.
for the first three albums, and that was Tried Droid Records, I believe it was called.
Wow.
But everything else is self-released, yeah.
Cool, cool. How does it feel like, when you have to give an autograph to a fan?
No, I love it. It's cool. It's the fact that like first of all the fact that they got the record is great, and
Right.
then them asking for a signature means that it means something to them.
Right.
It's like to them there's a value beyond just the music or just the album,
Right.
and they actually want a personal connection. So I find it really cool. Yeah.
Right. Right. What's your family think of you going into music?
Oh well, uh, my mom loves it.
Uh-huh.
She always wished she could have been a singer when she was a kid,
Uh-huh.
but it just wasn't in the cards. Her family grew up pretty poor, so
Right.
um, and my dad's side, same kind of deal. Like they grew up pretty poor as well, but he's a heavy duty mechanic, and he's one of those guys. You got to work hard for things, and and I get that, and that's how I am. But I just put that half into music and half into a career. So, you know,
Wow. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the first concert you ever attended.
oof. First concert or first metal show?
First concert.
Okay, I actually went to see the Police. That was the
Oh,
first.
cool.
That was
That's
the
great.
first concert that I went to. Funny enough, that was actually through my dad.
Right.
He used to work for a company called John Deere.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so they actually were like, "Hey, we're getting the guys out. We're getting a box up at I can't remember if it was Rogers Arena or BC Place, but for the Police, you want to go, kind of thing." And he's like, "Oh, sure." So then he asked me if I wanted to go. I think I
Right.
was like, I must have been like 12 or something at the time.
Wow.
So
That's pretty
yeah,
impressive. The Police is great, great band.
yeah, no, it was a fantastic show. I wasn't totally sure what to expect at the time because I didn't actually know who they were.
Right.
I was I was just a little kid, but yeah, it was super fun. So
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I saw them too. So they're really good. So what
yeah,
was your first metal show?
Scorpions.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Very
And
good.
I specifically chose them. We had the choice of going to ZZ Top or the Scorpions, and I was like, no, we're going to the Scorpions.
Right.
And I remember because when I was a kid, I'd watch MTV and
Uh-huh.
Rocky Like a Hurricane would come on, right?
Right.
And I was so enthralled by it. I would just sit there and watch it. And then by the time it was over, I was like, wait, I didn't even catch who that is. I don't
Right.
know who this band is. So then there was this one day and I was like, I'm gonna sit here until the Scorpions comes on again and I'm gonna make note of who they are because I didn't know their name, right?
Right.
So I sat there and I watched MTV all day waiting for Rocky Like a Hurricane to come back on. And it
Right.
actually did. So then I grabbed a piece of paper and I wrote down their name right away and I ran to HMV and I bought the record.
Right.
And then I was like, guys, we gotta go see these guys. They're coming. So actually Leighton, our bass player, went with me too,
Cool.
and our original guitar player too. So it was kind of like when we saw them play, that was
Hmm.
sort of where our stage show concept sort of became. We were like, we want to put on a show like these guys
Right.
because it
Right.
was very exciting.
I mean, Winds of Change got to be one of the best songs ever. That's
Yeah,
like a worldwide anthem. If you want to talk.
yeah, they have so many. They have
Yeah.
so many.
Right. Right. What was the latest concert you went to?
Latest concert. Um, well, I mean, I guess the most recent show would be one of our own. We played in Prince George recently.
Uh-huh.
Probably the last show that I went to, but one that I actually went to, like purchasing a ticket.
Uh-huh.
I think it was a friend's band, Hyperia.
Uh-huh.
They played, I believe, at Bully's studio.
How about I don't think you probably ever bought vinyl, did you?
Oh, I have like 300 vinyl records.
So what was one of the first?
Well, I used to go to this place in Langley all the time, like every week when I
Uh-huh.
was in high school, and I'd whatever money, because I'd work all my weekends.
Right.
Whatever money I made, I'd blow it on vinyl, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'd do this every Wednesday, and it'd be like used records. And to be honest with you, I don't know what the first one would be. I'm trying to think what it might have been, but I do remember one of the first ones I got was actually Guns N' Roses with the original album cover for Appetite for Destruction.
Right, yeah.
And I think I got it for like 16 bucks, but it's actually worth like 300 or something. The guy just didn't know, and I was like,
Right,
oh,
yeah, yeah.
sweet, you know.
Yeah. Wow, wow. Uh, is any of your material going to come out on vinyl?
Yeah, yeah. So we have actually Ride for Glory, our third album, came out on vinyl.
Uh-huh.
Our fourth album, On the Hunt, we have vinyls for. We also did a live album and like an EP.
Uh-huh.
That one's on vinyl only. You can't even get that digitally, for
Wow.
example. And then our newest album, we just made a deal again for vinyls, so we should be getting those pretty soon here. But with the way that the plants are right now, there's only a few, and they're really delayed. So we don't
Right.
really know. We just don't know when it's going to come out yet.
Yeah. Most bands are that way because like 3 or 4 month waiting list, I guess, to get vinyl. So like
I think
it's
it's
tough.
six. I think it's even. I think it's even more. I think it's like 6 or 7 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's the highlight so far for your career?
Probably 2014. We played a German metal festival called Keep It True,
Right.
and it was 2,500 like dedicated metalheads, and we played with bands like Jagdpanzer and Metal Church,
Cool.
and Flotsam and Jetsam were there, and it was fantastic. Yeah, it felt like we went back to the 80s. Everybody was like in their striped pants and patched vests and everything, and they're camping outside. It was great.
Do you have any merchandise available for people to buy?
Oh, everything's available to buy. So we have a website, www.iron-kingdom.com. We also have a Bandcamp page as well, and so we have like 10 different T-shirt designs. We have like 2 or 3 patches. We have stickers, magnets, pins, flags,
Right.
back patches, vinyls, cassettes, CDs, pretty much you name it, and we probably have it.
Wow. Cool, cool. What do you foresee for the future?
In what regard?
Touring, you think you'd be in the United States? Whatever.
Yeah, so right now touring, I think we're gonna sort of see how the record does when it comes out a little bit.
Right.
So we're starting off with just the November 4th show at the Wise Hall in Vancouver.
Okay.
That's our album release party. And then we're gonna sort of see what opportunities kind of spring up as we kind of go through the campaign, and hopefully we can get a couple festivals going in Europe or the US, and kind of take it from there. I think we're planning to do like another West Coast Canada tour in the summer.
Right.
Still up in the air. And I know we did get an opportunity to play in a festival in, I believe it was Milwaukee, I believe, or no, I think Madison, Wisconsin, I think. And but we're not 100% sure yet if we're gonna be able to take that one.
Right.
But that would mean a U.S. tour if we do. And then, yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, it'd be cool to go back to Brazil too, but
Yeah. Wow. Expensive, so
yeah, it is, yeah. But it's so fun though.
oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, congratulations on the new album, and wish you the best, Iron Kingdom. Would you like to say anything to the fans before we conclude?
Well, thank you so much, first of all, for having us. And yeah, pre-orders are available now. Feel free to make your orders, and if you want us to sign something in advance, just let us know, and we'll do that. Yeah, we'll have a couple singles coming out pretty soon here, so pretty stoked about that. And just always keep it steel.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for the chat.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye bye.